The text came from a number I didn't know. It said, "The red shirt looks nice on you." I was wearing a red shirt. I was standing in my own kitchen, and every blind in the house was closed. I texted back, "Who is this?" And the reply came a second later, "Look up." Welcome back. It's just you and me and the dark tonight. 3 true stories about the phone in your pocket, and the stranger on the other end of it who somehow knows a great deal more about you than a stranger ever should. Let's begin. It started as a wrong number. That's the thing people forget. Most of these begin with something so ordinary you don't even flinch. I got a text one afternoon from a number not in my contacts, and it just said, "Hey, it's me, are we still on for tonight?" And I did what anyone does. I wrote back, "I think you have the wrong number." And they said, "Oh, sorry." And I put my phone down and forgot about it, completely. 2 days later, the same number texted again, but this time it didn't say anything friendly. It said, "You changed your hair." And I had. I'd gotten it cut that very morning. I stared at that text and I told myself it was a coincidence, a message meant for someone else, some fluke. I didn't answer it. And an hour later, another one came. "It suits you shorter." I blocked the number. You can always block a number. And for a few days, nothing. And then the text started coming from a different number. Same voice, same tone, picking up right where the last one left off, like nothing had happened. Blocking me was rude. I blocked that one too. Another appeared, and another. It didn't matter how many I blocked. There was always a new number, and it always knew things. Things it could only know if it could see me, what I was wearing, what I'd eaten, that I'd cried in my car that morning. Little observations, delivered flat and calm at all hours, from an endless supply of numbers I couldn't stop. The day it broke me was the red shirt. I was standing in my kitchen, blinds shut, doors locked, feeling safe, and the text came. "The red shirt looks nice on you." And I looked down at my red shirt and my whole body went cold because there was no window he could have seen me through. I wrote, "Who is this?" And it said, "Look up." I did not look up. I ran out of the house to my car, and I drove to the police station and I showed them everything. Months of texts, hundreds of numbers, every one of them describing my life as I lived it. And the police did try, they really did. But every number traced back to a spoofing service, a dead end, an app, a nothing. There was no person at the other end that they could find. There were just the messages, always knowing, always watching, always calm. And it learned. That was the thing that wore me down more than the fear. It wasn't just watching me, it was studying me. Over the months, the messages got more intimate, more precise. It knew my routines before I did. It would text, "You're going to skip the gym again tonight," an hour before I'd decided to. It knew which friends I was quietly fighting with. It knew once that I was pregnant and sent me a gentle little congratulations 2 days before the test did. And it was never cruel about any of it. That was the worst part. There was no anger in it, no threat, just this patient, total tender attention. Like being loved by something that had no business loving you, that had appointed itself the private narrator of your whole life and was simply never going to be talked out of the job. You can fight a threat. You can call the police on a threat. But how do you fight something whose only crime is that it will not ever stop paying attention to you? I moved. I changed my number, changed my phone, changed my city, and for a while, blessedly, it stopped. 3 months of silence. I let myself believe it was over. And then, last week, a text arrived on my new phone from a number I didn't know, and it said, "The new place is smaller, but I like it. You look happier here." And underneath it, a second message. "You didn't really think a wall would do it, did you?" I still don't know who it is. I've stopped trying to find out. I just know that wherever I go, whatever I do, some part of my day is being watched and written down and sent back to me gently by someone who has never once threatened me and never once shown their face, and who, I've finally accepted, is never going to stop. Because you can block a number, you can change your phone, but you cannot block a person who has decided, quietly, patiently, that your life is theirs to narrate. Blocking a number does nothing to a person like that. The next man in tonight's stories learned something worse. You can't block a voice at all once it's had enough time to learn how to sound exactly like yours. He woke up, checked his phone, and there was a missed call from an unknown number at 3 in the morning and a voicemail. He played it, and it was his voice, unmistakably him, his tone, his little verbal habits, the way he cleared his throat. But he had not left this message. He'd been asleep at 3 a.m., and the message was strange. It said in his own voice, "Hey, just checking in on you. Make sure your doors are locked tonight. I worry about you." And then a pause, and then his own voice, softer, "I am always thinking about you." And it ended. He assumed it was a prank, some app that clones voices, some friend messing with him. He asked around. Nobody knew anything. And that night, another voicemail, 3 a.m., his own voice. "You didn't lock the back door tonight. You really should. Anyone could just walk in." And his blood ran cold because he checked and the back door was unlocked. He'd forgotten, and something in his own voice had known. The voicemails came every night after that, always 3 a.m., always his voice, calm and warm and concerned, telling him things about his own home that only someone inside it could know. That he'd left the stove on, that his bedroom window didn't latch properly, that he talked in his sleep, and here was what he'd said. His own voice describing his own house, his own habits, his own sleeping self from somewhere he couldn't see, with a tenderness that made his skin crawl. He started recording himself sleeping out of pure desperation. Set his phone on the dresser every night, camera running to prove to himself that he wasn't making the calls, that he wasn't sleepwalking, wasn't losing his mind. And the footage always showed him asleep, still, alone in the bed. But on the nights the voicemails came, there was always a stretch right around 3 a.m. where the recording glitched. A few minutes of static, of darkness, the audio dropping out. And when it came back, everything looked the same, except that some mornings his phone was an inch from where he'd left it, turned slightly, facing the bed, as if during those missing minutes someone had picked it up and looked through it at him sleeping and set it back down, not quite right. He never caught a single thing on those recordings, but eventually he stopped making them, because it had begun to feel less like he was gathering evidence and more like he was leaving the camera out as an invitation, filming an empty room night after night for something that only ever showed up in the parts the camera couldn't keep. He took it to the police, and they were baffled, because voice cloning is real and spoofing is real. But the content, the intimate, accurate, real-time knowledge of the inside of his home, that couldn't be faked. Someone had to be watching. Someone had to be there. and they searched and found nothing, and the voicemails kept coming. The last one he ever listened to was different. It was his voice, 3 a.m., but this time it wasn't a warning or a reassurance. It was just this: "Don't be scared when you see me. I've been you for so long now, I think I do it better than you do. I think when the time comes, no one's even going to notice the difference." And then, in his own voice, a soft little laugh. His laugh. Perfect. He changed his number and threw the phone in a river. He told me he doesn't leave voicemails for anyone anymore, and he flinches when he hears a recording of his own voice, because he can never be fully sure now that it's really him talking, and that whatever spent all those nights learning to be him, learning his voice, his habits, the inside of his life, didn't just want to imitate him. It wanted to replace him, and it had told him in the friendliest possible way that it thought it was ready. Learning to sound like someone takes months of listening. The last story tonight skips the voice entirely. It just counts, quietly, and it never once loses track of the number. She started getting texts from an unknown number, and the first one was just a number. It said 40. That's all. She figured it was a wrong number, a spam glitch, and ignored it. The next day, another text from the same number. It said 39. The day after, 38. Every single day, one text, one number, counting down. She had no idea to what. She blocked it, and it came from a new number, still counting, exactly where it had left off, as if the block had never happened. 35. 34. A patient daily countdown to something she was never told. She tried at first to laugh it off, but you can't laugh off a countdown, because a countdown means something is going to happen. A countdown means someone has a date, a plan, an appointed hour, and they are keeping time for you, marking it off, letting you watch it approach. She started to dread the daily text. She'd wake up and check her phone with her stomach in a knot, and there it would be, 28, 27. Every day, one lower. Every day, one day closer to whatever it was. She went to the police with it, and this is the frustrating truth of these stories. There's nothing to do with a number. A text that says 27 is not a threat, legally. It's not anything. It's just a number. So they took a report, and they told her to keep them posted, and there was nothing they could do but wait along with her and watch it count down. She tried once to text back, to break the silence of it, to make it a person instead of a number. When the count hit 20, she wrote, 20 what? 20 days until what? Please just tell me. And for the first time, the number didn't answer with a number. It answered with words. It said, "You'll know when it's 0. Everyone always knows when it's 0. That's the point." And then, the very next day, back to the count. 19. She never wrote to it again after that, because the reply had told her something she couldn't unlearn. That whatever was coming at 0 was the kind of thing you recognize the instant it arrives. That she wouldn't need to be told. That she would simply look up one day at the end of the count and understand all at once what all the counting had been for. And she has spent every day since it stopped at 1 wondering whether that day is still out there, waiting, holding its final number in reserve. She did everything she could think of. New number, new phone. The countdown found her and picked up where it left off, never missing a day, never skipping a number. 14, 13. She stopped sleeping. She stopped going out. Her whole life narrowed down to that single daily digit, ticking toward zero, toward a thing she couldn't name or prepare for or prevent. And here's why this story haunts me, and why I saved it for last. Because she wrote to me when the number was 3. She wrote to tell me all of this, to get it out of her head, 3 days before whatever was coming. And then I didn't hear from her for a while. And when I followed up weeks later, she answered. And she was fine. Nothing had happened. The countdown had reached 1, and then, on the day it should have reached 0, nothing. No text at all. The messages simply stopped. 0 never came, and you'd think that would be a relief, but she told me it was worse, because a countdown that reaches 0 is a countdown that's over. Whatever it was, it happened or it didn't, and either way it's done. But a countdown that stops at 1, that never delivers its final number, that isn't over. That's just paused. That's someone deciding at the very last moment, not yet. That's a 0 still out there somewhere, unspent with her name on it. And she has spent every day since wondering if the counting will start again, and what number it will start from, and whether next time they'll bother to warn her at all. That's all for tonight. If this one's got you looking sideways at your phone, then you already know what to do. Subscribe and hit that bell, because there's a brand new true horror story here every single night, and you won't want to miss one. Give it a like so it finds the next person in the dark, and share it with someone who answers texts from numbers they don't know. I'll be right here tomorrow night when the lights go down. Sleep well if you can.
Like, share, and subscribe for daily horror stories every single day.